I've always lamented the fact that I never played Crisis Core or Final Fantasy VII. I did not have a PSP until just a couple years ago. I didn't track down a copy till recently. After playing Final Fantasy VII again, I was jazzed to finally play this. I also have recently started to see an uptick in subscribers, and I'm not a total idiot. People like to watch the recap videos I make. They're time consuming to make, but I enjoy making them, and it can enhance my own enjoyment of some of these stories. Or in the case of the Nier franchise, it allows me to evangelize on the qualities of the games in my eyes. I've decided not to do a traditional story recap for this game. Firstly, I'm not rightly sure I understand some of its finer points. Secondly, I did not like a lot of this game. When I started making YouTube videos, it was a challenge for me to learn how to video edit, write a script, and flex my brain outside of work. How successful I've been on my script writing and video editing endeavors is certainly up in the air. One of the premises of my video making is that I would make videos on games I love. The internet's full of negative coverage of games, and I'm not saying that isn't useful. I just never cared to partake. I'm gonna make an exception. I want to talk about this game, but that also means addressing some of the things I outright disliked about it. Before I even start, I want to say this was clearly a game made by devs that had love for the property. It's not a bad game, but it has systems and in some case story elements that rub me the wrong way. I have to warn you lovers of this game now. I'm going to start off pretty hot before I get to things I liked about this game later. There are really some things that I enjoyed, but be warned, I'm going to be a pretty spicy jalapeno. This may not be one of my complete retelling videos, but I do plan on doing a story recap of events, so be aware of that later. Once I get to it, I'll warn you. Normally when I do my complete retellings, I do so with a complete understanding of the story being told. That is not true here. I played it and I understood individual events, but there's much that flew right past me. Let's talk about how I played the game. Even though I own the game and a PSP, shown here, I decided to play it on a PSP emulator to capture it, mostly because I don't hate myself or you. I went through some hoops with some texture mods and settled on one that simply replaced the text. There are some cutscenes that were pre-rendered in Engine and therefore presented in their original format that look pretty rough with 16x texture filtering and the whole shebang put on them. I rolled with it, so I'll expect you to do the same. You clicked on a Shepherd Games video, so I'm gonna assume your standards are already somewhere below the gutter. Can I crawl under a bar that's already on the floor? Let me start with the game's combat. I'll start by saying that they were limited to utilizing the hardware available to them. The PSP had a D-pad with a little nub thing that acted like a stick. You only had access to one of them for movement, assuming you have a typical one thumb per hand setup. No judgment zone here. As such, to maneuver a camera, you have only the shoulder buttons left at your disposal. This can work in a limited fashion on the world map, but in combat they chose to use the shoulder buttons for navigating your menu. That would typically be done with a D-pad in a traditional turn-based game. I will not rant and rave about the camera beast, as these limitations were in the hardware, and I think I could say I expected the camera to be a problem at times. Your face buttons are used for blocking, dodging, and activating the chosen item on the menu on the bottom of the screen. Namely, attacking, using abilities, magic, or items. You can maneuver around the battlefield with the D-pad while selecting menu options. The enemy Zack is closest to will be auto-targeted by the system. Well, that's the premise anyways. In practice, I found it cumbersome to target a specific enemy while running around and cycling through menu options. The worst case is when you've selected a magic spell with AoE effects, and you're trying to target an enemy in the middle of a pile. I would often squander the effects by targeting a random opponent in the fray. Running around and cycling through menus is inherently unintuitive, as anyone who's played the original Ni no Kuni will likely recall. Now, this is not the best case scenario for a battle system for me, but I could have powered through all this. What really killed this for me was the DMW system. I cannot speak for anyone else, but one of the staples of classic RPG systems is the leveling system. Sometimes it's as simple as raising Cloud from level 10 to level 11. In other games, it may have been more predicated on getting higher tier gear or mastering spells. This game does have levels. It does have leveling up of materia and getting better accessories. Now let me explain to you how they butchered this system to me. While Zack is fighting, he'll have a spinning slot machine mechanism rolling above his head. This is called the DMW, or Digital Mind Wave. Now as I understand it, the system is supposed to be reflecting Zack's current mind state. What it means to you as a player is that more than any other RPG I have ever played, your success or failure is predicated on RNG. Let's say this thing modulates and gives you 3 Sung faces. Sung will assist you in battle and do a special move. That's a nice little bonus. Cool. If 3 Aerith faces show up, then she'll do a move that heals you. Still sounding good? Sometimes it'll give you little bonuses that double your hit points or MP. Man, I am really failing to make this sound bad, aren't I? Well, what if you're at full health and Aerith heals you? Bummer, missed opportunity. Could have really used more damage against this boss. What if you don't line up 3 faces at all? Bummer, wasted spin. Now let me introduce you to the true cruelty of this system. Along with these faces are numbers that spin alongside them. If all the numbers match up, it adds to additional benefits. Important benefits. The only way Zack can level up is if he gets all 7s. The only way he can level up his materia is if these numbers match correctly. The only way you can level up in Crisis Core is if you get a lucky spin. I was sure this was all wrong. This is a JRPG. Surely I can grind my way out of this mess. Well, sure you can, but you're still inevitably bound to the luck of this spinning reel. I cannot tell you the immeasurable disappointment I felt when I realized this. I thought that eventually I would get some kind of luck up or something to make the odds more reasonable. This only somewhat happened. Eventually you can add materia to boost your odds of a specific face to pop up if you are so inclined. Let me explain to you now how the system slowly broke me. Firstly, I had several boss fights where they had unblockable attacks that could do more than my entire health bar of damage. One shot. Start over. Okay, next time the DMW doubled my HP. Then Aerith came and healed me. Then Sephiroth did an insane attack. The boss was now trivially easy. During one boss fight, I gained 2 levels and then I lost. I came back and won, but didn't gain 2 more levels for more than an hour of game time afterwards. I'm not one of those people who's opposed to grinding. I always felt that in older JRPGs, they gave you dungeons that starved your resources. Each individual fight for your party wasn't a challenge in and of itself, but it was an act of attrition. Once you arrive at a save point, you can use a tent, heal up. If a boss kicked my ass, I would go close to it and grind and come back. With these kinds of systems, you can tailor the difficulty to your playstyle. Grind a bunch of battles and become a god amongst ants, or try and min-max your way all the way to the end. The problem with this game is that problem of grinding. Normally, if you gain a set amount of experience, you can level up your character, or materia in the case of Final Fantasy VII, in very predictable ways. Now you're shooting into an invisible hoop with no idea whether or not the ball will go in. There are side missions. Oh Jesus, am I gonna start on the side missions? In case you could tell, this is something of a stream of consciousness thing happening here. You could play side missions at any time from any of the save points. They're all rated as easy, normal, and hard. Easy missions are truly brain dead. You often just have to play these to unlock the other missions first. Easy missions can last a couple of minutes at times, no big deal. Problem with these is that you are not in battle long enough to even get a spin on the DMW oftentimes. So I did quite a few of these missions where I had no conceivable chance of leveling my materia or my character level. Okay, well, the normal missions are the play. Your best chance is to do these when you're at the appropriate power level for them. If you do them too early, they can become time consuming, even if they aren't terribly challenging. If you do them too late, no DMW spins for you. I looked it up and there's allegedly a system slightly improving the odds in your favor as you tally more kills, but I saw no evidence of this in my gameplay experience. Then there are the hard battles. These can either be the most engaging combat in the game or absolute blindside bullshit. These are often filled with enemies that can wrap you up in status effects you haven't even been given the means to deal with yet. There was a rhino that used an AoE stomp that stunned me. I would be dominating the rhino creature, and as soon as he used that stomp, he would knock me out and murder me while I was unable to fight back. His damage was insane. Once I had an accessory to prevent stun, this was one of the easier fights I had in the game. This is the most boring kind of difficulty. I know this is really whiny at this point. At some point during the game, I started taking every bad roll personally. This is on me. I get it. But now I'm making it your problem. Look, I'm sure there are people out there who are going to explain how they use the materia fusion system to trivialize the game at level 2. I won't even go into that system at all, as I am too disinterested at this point. I'm used to random number generators. Role-playing games have used dice rolls to decide outcomes in combat for ages. You swing at the rat. Dice decide whether or not you hit the rat. They decide what kind of damage you do. I am accustomed to this. I hate not having direct control over my progression, and it soured my experience. That's all I'm going to say about the combat and the leveling systems for now. I lied. So many people have complained about random battles over the years, that in modern gaming, the premise of fighting a battle you didn't see coming has gone the way of the dodo. I just played Final Fantasy VII, and it was still completely fine to me. The premise of a random encounter doesn't bother me. Insane encounter rates bother me. There were moments in this game where I fought 4 consecutive battles in 4 consecutive steps. It is madness. Complete and utter madness. You'll eventually learn that there are invisible lines drawn on the ground around the map that will initiate an encounter. These lines are large and hard to avoid, but eventually I learned that if I walked along the edge of the map, I could walk past some of these encounters. This was helpful to know during the aforementioned easy missions. You would hope, though, that these invisible circles that spawn an encounter would deactivate once you defeated the enemies within them. No. Quite a few times I finished a battle and accidentally stepped back the way I came, only to trigger the same encounter I just finished. If I felt like this is actually going to contribute to Zack's character development, I could suffer it more. But seeing as I kept rolling snake eyes at the DMW casino, I became increasingly uncharitable with my feelings towards the game. Okay. I've gone pretty hard here. I did not love this story, but I enjoyed the story and characters a lot more than I did the gameplay. So let's do my typical recap of that. If I'm being honest, I don't rightly know where I would segment off a spoiler section, so I'm just going to start recapping the events of the story, and you can use the timestamps to jump past the story segment if you are sensitive to spoilers. I know I've done a bad job selling the game here, so I'll just say right now, I wanted to play this game, and I'm glad I had the experience. The game starts with a scene reminiscent of Cloud riding into Midgar on a train. This time, though, it's Zack with his superior officer, Angeal. Immediately, it becomes clear that Zack may appear to be a black-haired Cloud, but he has a distinctly different persona. He coolly answers a call from his superior, Angeal, while the forces fire on him. He fights through some Wutai soldiers before being confronted with Sephiroth. This concludes with the realization that all of this was a training sortie. Angeal has big brother energy and leaves Zack with parting words. He gives him some advice to embrace his dreams.
Huh? If you want to be a hero, you need to have dreams. And honor.
This will be a repeating message. I'm understating that, but just remember, dreams and honor. Got it. The opening bit of story is mostly about Zack trying to rise up from the ranks of soldier second class. He has big dreams of being a hero. Instead, he's mostly holed up in Shinra HQ, and his other soldier friend Kunsel informs him that the reason there's no action is because there's been a mass desertion. One of the first class soldiers has taken his leave, and many of the troops followed him. The director Lazard calls Zack back into his office. The soldier first class who has deserted is named Genesis. He looks like what he is, shittier and more emo Sephiroth. He went missing a month ago in Wutai, and that's our first stop. And Jill will come along as the first on this mission. Before they leave, Zack has this conversation with director Lazard.
I'll be joining you as well. I'm counting on you.
Sir!
By the way, what is your dream? To become first? Is it?
No. To become a hero.
Ah, good. Unattainable dreams are the best kind.
Thanks.
Sick burn, bro. In Wutai, Zack is happy to make a good impression on the director. He wants to become a first, and Jill criticizes Zack's impetuousness and then proceeds to school him on the fruit that the townspeople call dumb apples. They're called this because the trees bear fruit at random times during the year. He tells of his childhood being poor. He would abscond with dumb apples from his neighbor's trees. Even as a child, he had his honor. There was a wealthy man with the largest tree. It was rumored to have the best apples, and Jill never stole from this tree because the man's son was his friend. Cool story, bro.
And what exactly does this have to do with me?
No story is not worth hearing.
What? That's it?
As Angeal preps to engage Fort Tamblin in Wutai, Zack notes that Angeal never uses his large sword. Angeal tells him that use brings about wear, tear, and rust. He takes his tools seriously. After clearing through the fort, Zack encounters Wutai's most fearsome warrior. A young Yuffie appears to give him 1-4. Naruto runs away with her work done. Further in, a monster cheap shots Zack and catches him off guard. Angeal appears to finish it off. The director shows up to thank the pair for their efforts. Mission complete, or so we thought. More Wutai soldiers attack, and Zack has to go take the director to safety. Once he's safe, Zack returns to assist Angeal and is blindsided by Ifrit. Once again, a first-class soldier comes to the rescue, and Sephiroth intervenes to finish it off. The Wutai soldiers are now revealed to be clones of Genesis. Get used to seeing these guys because you will be fighting an awful lot of them. It's at this point where they realize that Angeal is now missing as well. Sephiroth accuses him of betraying Shinra, and Zack refuses to believe it. The game cuts to 1 month later, and Angeal is still missing. Zack is distraught. Lazard requests that Zack return to Genesis's hometown to track down any information on the missing first-class soldiers. Sung of the Turks will join Zack on this mission. Once in Benora, Sung reveals that Genesis's parents were wealthy landowners. Clearly, he was the son that Angeal refused to steal from. They grew up together. Inside the town of Benora, Zack encounters Angeal's mother. She says that Angeal told her that Zack was restless with zero attention span like a little puppy. She also tells him that Genesis came back a month ago with an army in tow. Angeal stopped by, left his sword, and then took his leave. The sword represents his family's honor. Zack gets now why he doesn't use it. It's time to find Angeal. Zack wants to convince him to return, but Shinra wants them captured.
Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. We seek it thus and take to the sky. Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest. Settle down. Zack the puppy.
Genesis is obsessed with this play called Loveless, and this guy really won't shut up about it. He's murdered his parents and he feels betrayed. He buried their corpses and sent false reports of his demise to Shinra. Genesis requested Angeal to fight by his side, and based on his actions, you are unsure which road he has taken at this point. It's time to get out of town. Shinra is going to blow this town to smithereens. Zack has only minutes to run back to rescue Angeal's mom. He's too late, though. Genesis has officially won Angeal to his side. He summons Bahamut, and Zack must defeat him. Genesis calls Angeal and himself monsters. He also claims they have no dreams or honor before growing a single black wing and flying away. No time to linger in this moment, though, because Benora has some bigger problems on the way. Shinra raises it to the ground, and it's time to take your leave. Shinra calls this the end of the war with Wutai. For Zack, he misses his mentor. Lazard considers this a successful mission. Zack has been promoted to soldier first class. One would assume this would be his dream come true. This is bittersweet. Oh yeah, now you can equip 6 materia and use the materia fusion system or some shit. Throw materia in there and it becomes a new materia. Are there recipe books or something? No, not that I'm aware. Just gamble away your useless materia was my system. I hate being forced to read guides to use basic mechanics from my games. Dark Souls! I will not elaborate on this system further. The company's decided to kill Genesis and Angeal. Sephiroth will join Zack on this mission. Or he would have, but Shinra HQ gets invaded. Sephiroth has an idea where these Genesis copies are coming from. There was a doctor who is one of the predecessors to Hojo named Hollander who was fired from Shinra and has since held a grudge. In the courtyard in front of Shinra HQ, the Turks are doing their part to quell the insurrection. Rude and Reno make an appearance here, as well as a woman who introduces herself as Cisne. Further into the streets of Midgar, Zack finds Cisne is bitten off more than she can chew, and he is forced to defeat yet another Genesis clone. Cisne reveals that she's always wanted to have wings since childhood, like an angel.
If people had wings, they'd be monsters.
Wings symbolize freedom for those who have none. They don't symbolize monsters.
At this point, Sephiroth calls Zack to Mako Reactor 5. In the reactor, Zack defeats an enemy that has a familiar face on it. Angeal too has been cloned. Sephiroth reveals his past, when his friends Genesis and Angeal were in the company training room. Genesis is reciting words from Loveless Act 1. Sephiroth recognizes it, and it quickly escalates into a full-on battle with the trio of friends. Genesis believes he can take on Sephiroth alone.
All hail Sephiroth, huh?
Angeal, stay back. I'll take Sephiroth alone.
Genesis?
The world needs a new hero.
Come and try.
So smug. But for how long?
I gotta say that hearing this rendition of Sephiroth takes me aback. Honestly, this is before he makes his turn into a heel, but it's strange to hear his voice be so calm and almost friendly. That's a me problem though. This cutscene is full-on anime battle with Square Enix killer graphics that would have blown me away if I played this on release. The fight ends as Genesis is injured. Don't worry, merely a flesh wound. You get it. They were friends, but the competitive kind. The Angeal clone has confirmed that they are indeed in league with Dr. Hollander as they press on. Deeper into the reactor, Sephiroth has a flashback from when Genesis was injured. Hollander was on duty to treat him, and Genesis required a transfusion to heal from his wounds, and Sephiroth was told he could not be a candidate. Notes around this area reveal something about a Project G. Genesis. A bit on the nose. He was Hollander's experiment. A normal child. A failure. There's more though. Not only was he conceived from ancient DNA like certain someone we know, but he's also prone to degrading. Hollander appears to remark that only he is capable of stopping this degradation of Genesis. Sephiroth stays behind to deal with Genesis, muttering about the gift of the goddess, more insufferable, loveless stuff. Zack takes his leave to chase Hollander in what will become a habit. He runs away, and a soldier first class is incapable of catching him. Maybe Hollander injected himself with some Usain Bolt DNA or something. Zack is impeded from stopping Hollander by Angeal, who laments his own wing. I'm gonna let some of this play out. Tell me if I'm the only one that thinks this writing/performance belongs in an early 2000 Square Enix time capsule.
Angeal!
I've become a monster. A monster's objective is usually world domination or revenge.
You're wrong. Those aren't the wings of a monster.
Well then, what are they?
Angel's wings.
I see. Then what should an angel fight for, Zack? What do angels dream of?
Angeal,
Angels dream of one thing.
please tell me.
To be human.
Angeal knocks Zack off his feet and takes his leave. Zack won't fight him. I was getting one over a bit at this point while getting surrounded by all this cheese. Zack awakens in a familiar place surrounded by a familiar face. Well, if you play in Final Fantasy VII at least. The voice actress plays Aerith as sickly sweet as one would imagine.
Hello? Hooray!
Heaven?
Not quite. Church in the slums.
An angel?
No, I'm Aerith. You fell from the sky.
Huh?
Scared me.
So you saved me, huh?
Not really. Hello? That's all I did.
Zack has to repay his savior, and he chooses to do so with an old trick we've seen before. He chooses to repay her with a date. Alright, remember all those bad things I was saying about the digital mind wave thing earlier? All that nonsense? At this point, I wasn't considering any of it. He convinces her that all these flowers could be a valuable commodity, and she should consider selling them. Waves of nostalgia sweep over my weeb body. Aerith decides to walk him home from Sector 5. She also admits she just wants to spend more time with Zack, and that takes him aback. Very simple dialogue, but it's cute. What can I say? I'm a simple man. This little stroll gives us a pretty good insight into the young Aerith. Zack is not used to being under the plate of Midgar, and Aerith is perfectly fine with not seeing the sky. She tells him that the sky makes her feel like it's sucking her in. He tells her that one day he'll take her to see the real sky, and she'll see it's not frightening at all. Later in the marketplace, Zack's money is stolen. The children are running amok in this place. He has to do a few tasks to get his money back. He eventually makes friends with a thief, and it will pay dividends in the long run. At the accessories shop, Aerith pokes around and finds something she likes. Zack buys her a familiar ribbon for her hair.
Thank you, Zack. I'll always wear it from now on.
At the park, Aerith reveals her feelings about the soldier members.
Those soldier people are kind of weird.
They're weird, huh?
And they're scary. They fight. And they love it.
Actually, I'm with Soldier.
I'm sorry. So pretty.
The face?
The eyes.
You like them? Then take a closer look.
With it revealed that Zack is a soldier, her fears are settled, and she even likes his blue Mako-showered eyes. In spite of my unfavorable words I started off with, there's definitely a heart to this game that I still did enjoy. On the way back to Shinra HQ, what do you know but Genesis clones are attacking? After defeating some of these foes on his way back, Zack is interrupted by Angeal.
But Zack, no matter what happens, I have to protect my honor. As long as I hold the Buster Sword. Zack, join my battle.
You get it? This guy is about his honor. Have you heard about the honor? Maybe you haven't heard about the honor. He asks Zack to join the battle and whisks him away. Sephiroth is tearing up these clones on sight. The hypothesis at this point is that Hollander has sent these clones to kill Hojo. Disgruntled worker stuff. Shinra must have crap benefits because their employees seem to be rebelling at all sides right now. Hojo seems unconcerned by the potential assassins and scoffs that Zack would be his bodyguard. He refers to Genesis as a degrading monster. At this point, a black feather descends, a clear sign of a Genesis sighting. Hojo laughs at the premise that Hollander could have a capability to cure Genesis's degradation. Genesis references a part of the Loveless play, something to do with the duel. I really was in the weeds on this one. I was just trying to go with it. The last act has been lost, and there are only theories on the true ending of Loveless. This, of course, leads to Genesis calling on Bahamut to his defense, which has to be dealt with. With him defeated, Zack finds himself alone on the rooftop. An indeterminate amount of time later, Zack laments he cannot get a hold of Sephiroth. His fellow soldier Kunsel tells him that Sephiroth has been locked up in the data room and he's currently unreachable. He gets a call from Aerith, who is curious when he is planning to build her flower wagon. Yeah, shoot, we did say we would do that, huh, girl? We'll get to that, but Director Lazard tells Zack that the company wants to take care of both Genesis and Angeal, as they are both liabilities. Zack protests that Angeal was in the fight protecting Shinra HQ, but it's out of Lazard's hands. I want to briefly interject and speak on this conversation with another soldier in the hall. He has a bit of a thing for Director Scarlet. He says he wouldn't mind being stepped on by her high heels. We all got our kinks, man. He asks Zack who the #1 hottie in Midgar is. My Zack told him Aerith. The soldier chastises Jack for bragging about his hot girlfriend. Per usual in my videos, this is not story relevant, and it's just goofy goodness. Zack heads to visit Aerith, but is stopped by Sung in front of her church. Zack's services are required in Nibelheim. With no fanfare, Zack wakes up after the helicopter is wrecked. Was it shot down? Did it crash due to weather? I haven't the faintest idea. Everyone survived a helicopter wreck in the mountains. Realism is far from my biggest complaint here. Zack comments that he's used to this type of terrain because he's a country boy. He's followed by another Shinra soldier who seems to be the only one keeping step. He too is a country boy from Nibelheim.
From where?
Nibelheim. How about you?
Me? Gungaga. Hey, what's so funny about that? You know Gungaga?
No, but it's such a backwater name.
Ditto Nibelheim.
Like you've been there.
I have it. But there's a reactor there, right? A Mako reactor outside Midgar usually means nothing else out there.
Even the soldier comments on how it sounds like a backwater name. Finally, you get the reveal of this man's identity. Cloud taking his helmet off made my heart skip a beat a little, even if it was telegraphed from a mile away. They go hard with the member berries here, and I'm ashamed to say there were plenty of moments where they hit me hard. Cloud and Zack bond, and Cloud reveals his dream of becoming a soldier. Zack is encouraging of this notion. At this point, the task is to infiltrate a Mako excavation site, and I don't think what I did could be considered infiltration. You're meant to stealthily avoid fighting, but I failed at every attempt and ended up just clearing everyone out. I don't understand exactly what I was supposed to do here, but all it cost me was some treasure chests, which, I mean, they likely contain junk I wasn't going to use anyways if my experience with the rest of the game held true. Deep in the excavation site, Genesis is threatening Hollander, and it's clear that the degradation is having an effect on him. Genesis wants Genova cells. Zack takes on Genesis while Cloud chases down Hollander. After this defeat, Genesis goes on with more prose from Loveless. Genesis takes his leave with an ominous line.
Dreams of the morrow hath the shattered soul. Pride is lost, wings stripped away. The end is nigh. Such is the fate of a monster.
We're not monsters, you hear me? We're a soldier. Where's your honor?
Even if the morrow is barren of promises, nothing shall forestall my return. If this world seeks my destruction, it goes with me.
I didn't understand half of the babbling lines from Loveless in this game, but even my smooth brain can figure out what that line means. Deeper into Nibelheim proper, there is a mansion filled with Angeal clone monster things. Cloud and Sung have both been knocked out. Hollander has again escaped. Dude is a real Houdini. The pursuit ends with a confrontation with Angeal.
It should have been me. I should have dealt with Genesis.
Yeah. Then why'd you send me?
To prepare you for your next fight.
Have you lost it? Stop it!
Someone's waiting for you, no?
Angeal, don't do this.
Very good, Angeal. It is time to exact vengeance for our family's suffering.
Family?
No! My father is dead!
Fine. Then do it for your mother.
My mother's shame made her take her own life.
Shame. How terribly misguided. She should have been proud. Proud that she was the namesake of our experiment. Project G, or should I say, Project Jillian.
Don't say her name.
Jillian, the woman implanted with Genova cells, Genesis, who had her genes mapped onto him during the fetal stage. Yes, Genesis was a failure, I'll admit it. But you, Angeal, you were actually bred inside Jillian's body. You are perfection.
Zack, I am perfect. A perfect monster. My cells can absorb genetic traits and pass them along to others.
A two-way conduit. Jenova's power has passed on to you completely.
Zack, do you remember what I said about our enemy being all that creates suffering?
Yeah. But you're not one of them.
But I created my own suffering. Zack, let me show you.
Stop it! You don't know what you're doing! Damn! At least one sample!
Angel!
I left that whole cutscene because trying to reduce that into something absorbable makes my head hurt. So now Zack is left to finish off Angel. He really is a monster now. He wants the mercy of this death. Thank God for emulation. I could fast forward through these cutscenes now rather than having to watch them over and over and over again. I had to do this fight a lot. Even though this is an action-based system with dodges and blocks, many of the attacks have no tells they're coming. Often there's a placard that will display an incoming attack, and I look for those rather than an actual animation to dodge. Dark Souls, this is not. This is one of those fights where the damage dealt by one of his attacks was more than my entire health bar. Now after several fights, I realized the tell of the incoming attack came with a message of Thunder of Envy. Whatever the fuck that means. Thunder of Envy. I mean, that's gotta be a translation thing, right? I mean, it's gotta be. That's a localization team. That's what they came up with. Thunder of Envy. I'm lingering. I need to get off this. I eventually got the pattern down to sit behind him and get non-stop criticals, while eventually dodging his one-hit kill attack based on the message at the top of the screen. I would have been insane doing this without the ability to fast forward through the cutscene on a PSP console. Due to how many times I repeated this fight, I got a very good look on how the RNG of the DMW can alter the mechanics of a fight. This is where I truly got to dread the system. This is also the fight where I leveled up twice only to die. I said all my piece on how much I did not enjoy this, but this is also the point where I plan to reinforce those thoughts. Eventually, Angel is felled, and he reinforces to Zack that he must protect his honor, just as he passes on. We cut to Aerith attempting to cheer up her heartbroken beau. Zack has the Buster Sword now, and as Angel's symbol of familial honor, that too must be protected. Zack has taken more than Angel's sword. He now has taken his role.
So you want to be in Soldier? Hang in there. So, is everybody here now?
Sir!
You're all rookies, right?
Sir! Yes, sir!
One piece of advice. No. An order. Embrace your dreams. And whatever happens, protect your soldier honor. Got it?
Sir!
We're all coming back here alive. You hear me? Let's go.
Zack succeeded in finally apprehending Hollander, and then the company put him on leave. At the beaches of Costa del Sol, he appears more restless than rested. Cissnei joins him at the beach. She prods him for wanting to call Aerith. This is the first time where it's revealed to him that Aerith is being watched by the Turks, and that she is an ancient, but that precise definition appears to be lost on him, other than that she is one of a kind. A force of Genesis clones suddenly attack out of the waves. Scuba gens, as it were. Zack is forced to fight back with an umbrella, which I thought was actually a nice touch. It is only now that the thought occurs that Genesis may in fact be alive. Shinra isn't exactly filled with the best and brightest, now is it? We now cut back to Junon. It's under attack. Were we called because it was under attack? I guess. Were we going to use this as a launch point for a mission elsewhere? The series of events in this game seems like they were held together with spit and tape. Junon is really under attack because, remember Junon? Member? I guess Hollander is being held here, so we gotta check him out. Surely he's still in captivity though, because chasing Hollander again would be fucking ridiculous, right? Right? So yeah, he escaped the detention center, but surely we will apprehend him again before he's totally free, right? Fucking no. Of course not. Sephiroth arrives right after he's carried back to Oz. He brings news that Genesis copies have been sighted all around the world, including the slums. He grants Zack permission to return to the slums to check on his girl. In case there was any question remaining to whether Genesis is still alive, he is. At Aerith's church, there's some kind of Angel clone creature waiting next to her. Zack is confused, but then I was even more confused when some kind of Shinra bot comes through the church door. The Angel creature attacks Shinra bot. It appears the creature was protecting Cloud and Aerith. Although it won the fight, the creature is showing signs of degrading. It flies away as mysteriously as it arrived. The time has come for the most charming part of the game. It's time to make a flower wagon for Aerith. The task requires scouring Midgar for assorted materials. Outside the church, Zack is attacked by more Shinra robots, and Sung shows up to explain their newly designed monster hunting robot that has not been tuned yet to properly acquire targets. This game makes Shinra seem like one of the most inept organizations around. Hardly a superpower that's the most prominent business in the world, anyhow. Eventually, you acquire the parts for a wagon. Your little friend who stole your wallet even helps you. Unbeknownst to me at the time, there are alternative means of acquiring parts, and as such, you could build a high-quality, nice wagon or a super shiesty one. Since I was not playing with a walkthrough, my wagon came out hideous. Aerith was unimpressed, to say the least. Young Shane would have died at this result. Today, I was very amused by this. She's borderline embarrassed by my craftsmanship. She wishes for a better one, but that is not all. She has 23 total wishes, and she hands him a handwritten list of all of them. Surely he'll get to them, but Zack has been called back to duty. Sephiroth briefs him. There's been an incident at a regional Mako reactor. There's evidence that Hollander and Genesis might be to blame. Sephiroth warns Zack that he may abandon Shinra pending the results of this investigation. It might be a while before Zack can return to Midgar, so he has to say goodbye to Aerith. He wants to start with the flower peddling right now. She is all about making the moments count, it seems. They take the show to the park. Zack is a bit overzealous, and maybe he's scared off his potential customer. She doesn't care. She's enjoying this time together. She finds her own potential customer. Zack sees Sung, who promises to protect Aerith while the mission is underway. So we're going on to some regional reactor, huh? It's Nibelheim. At this point, I struggle to suppress my excitement at this moment. There is an opportunity now to experience the Nibelheim sequence with more modern graphics, uncut from the protagonist's perspective. Before they take their leave, Zack is excited to see Cloud will be joining us on this trip. I was excited too. This sequence begins just as you may recall from Final Fantasy VII. Tifa is in her glorious cowboy getup, but she seems saddened that the only two first-class soldiers sent were Zack and Sephiroth. The guy is really trying to flex his status at her, and she's more distracted than anything. Weird girl. At this point, there are a couple small quests that you could do in this area before going to the reactor. This section had me a bit excited because in spite of the linear map designs, there were actual JRPG quest activities to do. There's a boy who gives you tasks to investigate the 7 wonders of Midgar. I won't elaborate too much on these for the sake of sparing you, but one example is the rumor of a haunted painting at the inn. As you enter the room, there's a painting with a girl. If you return to the room, she's gone. If you follow the innkeeper upstairs, it will reveal that the truth is that he has a safe behind the painting. He's hiding his gambling money from his wife, and he changes the painting depending on whether or not there's money hidden in it currently. This is a non-supernatural explanation, but it was fun to do some actual quests in a, fucking JRPG. After you complete a satisfactory amount of these quests, you can move along in the main story and accompany Sephiroth to the reactor. As a side note, I was not using a guide, so I somehow missed part of these quests that made the last 2 wonders of Nibelheim unsolved. It's a bummer. Before the group leave, the photographer takes the famous photos of the group. He desperately wants a photo of the hero Sephiroth, and he begrudgingly obliges. The early events of the Nibelheim reactor investigation take place much like in Final Fantasy VII. Sephiroth explains that regular soldier members have been infused with Mako, but the creatures inside the reactor have far more Mako energy flowing through them. Again, he criticizes Hojo for creating these abominations before realizing that he could have potentially been created in the same way.
You said average member. What about you? Hey, Sephiroth!
Could it be that I was created the same way? Am I the same as these monsters? I knew ever since I was a child. I was not like the others. I knew mine was a special existence. But this was not what I meant. Am I a human being?
No such luck. You are a monster.
Genesis taunts him while explaining his origins in the Jenova project. Genesis is not here to aid Sephiroth in coming to grips with his past, though. He really just wants help to cure his own degradation. Due to Sephiroth's heritage, his genes can't be diffused. His body will not degrade. Genesis wants Sephiroth's cells.
Whether your words are lies created to deceive me, or the truth that I have sought all my life, it makes no difference. You will rot.
Time for more babble about Loveless from Genesis. He leaves behind a dumb apple in his wake. Outside the reactor, Tifa is being attacked by minions of Genesis. Zack dispatches them and finds an unnamed soldier on the ground who tried to protect Tifa. You know it's Cloud. Cloud was too weak to be Tifa's protector. Zack escorts Tifa as she carries Cloud into town. Zack is concerned that Sephiroth is nowhere to be found. Back at the inn, Cloud awakens. He's disappointed in himself, and he was incapable of defending Tifa. If only he were soldier. Zack asks Cloud if he knows Tifa. Cloud admits to knowing her, but remains vague.
Hey, Zack. You know, I've never seen you use that.
Yeah, Zack has a bit of a flashback here. He appears to be revitalized by thinking of his mentor and hits the hay. In the morning, he gets a call from Aerith. Sorry, babe, I got man shit to handle. Be back soon. I wonder where Sephiroth went. Players of Final Fantasy VII know that he is, of course, in the basement of Shinra Mansion, locked away, studying old documents, searching for his past to make a decision on his future. Cut to Zack awakening to a burning Nibelheim. This iconic image still does something to me. He can be found back at the reactor. Zack finds a wounded Tifa at the foot of the reactor. Zack has some avenging to do. Poor Zack has a terrible record with his mentor figures. Getting a semi-modernized version of Sephiroth accessing his mother's genetic material still did something to me. I'd be lying if I said anything to the contrary. When Zack asks Sephiroth if he's lost his mind, the truth is immediately evident. Yeah, kinda. You face off a Sephiroth at the bottom of the reactor, but even a victory in battle leads to a loss in regards to the story. You know, plot armor and all. Zack is bested. The natural instinct is to give the player a chance to face off with Sephiroth, but I think the game would have been better suited here doing so in a brief cutscene, demonstrating Sephiroth's superior strength. It is what it is, though. Again, a surprising hero returns to face off with our big bad. Cloud finds an inner strength after finding a childhood friend injured at the base of the reactor. Zack pleads for Cloud to finish the job. He appears to have been bested, but as players of the original game know, he's more than meets the eye. We again see as Sephiroth gets the full Emperor Palpatine treatment. Zack and Cloud have both seen better days. We can see Hojo planning his experiments on Cloud. Zack awakens after being goaded on by a vision of Angeal. Zack deals with the lab assistant on site and rescues a very disoriented Cloud. He now has to fight through the monsters from room to room throughout the basement of the mansion, then throughout the rooms of the mansion, and then through the streets of Nibelheim to carry Cloud up top and back to safety. Cloud did not appear to handle all that Mako being infused in his body well. In the town square, Zack sets Cloud down to rest before he realizes that the town has been reconstructed. It just burned down, and now it's though nothing has happened. Shinra troops see Zack as an escapee and begin to attack. As he is distracted, other soldiers attempt to carry Cloud off. He is valuable. Zack does what he needs to do, though. That battle should have been nothing to him, but he's still recovering and it took something out of him. He takes Cloud back to the mansion to regroup. Cloud is Mako sick, and Zack decides the best course of action is to give him a soldier uniform he found in the mansion. Cloud may not feel good, but he definitely looks good now. Zack looks longingly at Aerith's wish. I really wish I didn't write this sentence. Zack looks longingly at Aerith's list of wishes, one of which was that she would like to spend more time with him. Zack has to return to Midgar. Again, he is stopped in town by Shinra troops. Excuse me while I swat this feeling of deja vu away. Reports are that Sephiroth was killed in action. Yeah, I'm sure he's gone for good, wink wink, nudge nudge, say no more. Zack carries Cloud out of town into the countryside. Eventually, he's stopped at the beach by a familiar face. Cissnei is waiting for him. As a member of the Turks, she has a duty to do. Zack is a fugitive sample. She asks him what was done to him in that place, and he shrugs the question off. He asks her to walk away. This is her job, but she clearly has no drive to accomplish her task. She stands idly while Zack escapes. Zack continues to be optimistic about their chances until Cissnei finds their hiding spot. She realizes that Zack is also hiding Cloud with him. She hands him a present before taking her leave. She does have a heart after all. Zack seems to enjoy his Shinra motorcycle until he's accosted by Genesis and his clones. Now that Zack has been modified, Genesis is interested in his new genetic material. After he goes on about Loveless again, it gets really awkward when he grabs some of Zack's hair and one of his clones eats it. It doesn't seem to help with the degradation, but it does turn it into a monster that has to be defeated. After the battle, Zack returns to his catatonic friend. The pair return to Gongaga, but they can't go into his house as there would surely be people laying in wait. He's worried about his parents though, so he proceeds anyways. Cisne is again waiting for him. She hassles him about returning to the most predictable place. She tells him to be careful as security is very tight right now. There's been an Angeal sighting. She postulates that he too is likely looking for Zack. He asks Cisne how his parents are doing, and she gives him assurances that they're fine, but they're worried about his well-being. He asks about her folks, and she was raised inside Shinra. Awkward. He asks her to watch his family. Cisne has some mysteries of her own.
Cisne!
Not my real name.
Zack follows Angeal to a cliffside where he is yet again ambushed by Genesis clones. Hollander is here yet again. He explains that Zack's genetic structure had already been mutated but as a member of Soldier, so he cannot be used to stop Genesis's degradation. Hollander has his own concerns as he has now subjected himself to the same fate as Genesis. He is showing signs of degrading. He borrows some cells from Genesis to keep himself safe. His fate is now tied to Genesis. They need Cloud's cells to save themselves. The last Jenova cells in the world are now in Cloud's body. Genesis has been muttering words from Loveless for the entirety of the game, but the last act has been lost. He thinks he knows the ending of the play, and he believes it's inside the Lifestream. When Zack arrives back to Cloud's side, Hollander is attempting to kidnap him. A very degraded-looking Angeal swoops in and attempts to help. He protects Cloud as Zack takes on Hollander for one last time. The fight is a total pain, but I'll spare you the details there. With Hollander gone, Zack can return to Angeal. Angeal lays on the ground and Zack asks him how he got so winded from a fight with just some Genesis clones. This isn't Angeal though, just a clone. Specifically, it's Director Lazard. I forgot to point out that he had left his post at Shinra, but it turns out he had sided with Genesis and Sephiroth as he felt it was gravely unjust how Shinra had created them. I literally scoured my footage to find the scene explaining this, but it was so brief, I gave up looking for it. He needed Hollander to get revenge on Shinra. Now, he is an Angeal copy. Infused with Angeal's DNA, he now has a drive to save Genesis, help Zack, and maybe even save the world. Zack says something that I completely sympathize to in regards to Genesis's babble.
I just don't understand what he's talking about at all. What should I do?
The director again asks Zack about his dream.
Huh? Oh. Let's see. To become a hero.
Unattainable dreams are the best kind.
Dude should have been named Director Killjoy. So Genesis said he's hunting for the Lifestream, but where could it be? As he holds a dumb apple, Zack has a revelation. Genesis has been wandering around carrying dumb apples the whole game. He takes Cloud with him and heads for Benora. The reason why the dumb apples grew so well in the soil had something to do with the soil properties. Now I know that Cloud is a fugitive too, so Zack doesn't have too many options with where to leave him, but it seems like taking him straight to the one person who wants his cells seems like a suboptimal plan. He's correct though, the Lifestream is literally flowing out of the earth in the ruins of Benora. Genesis awaits deep below its depths. Our degrading villain has plans.
You have succeeded Angeal's spirit, and carry a part of Sephiroth within you. Thus the three friends are reunited once again. And Loveless is reenacted.
So basically this dummy wants to destroy the world and kill everyone and use the powers of the Lifestream for his own. This sounds a bit familiar, but alright. If these hacks would have introduced a meteor right now, I would have fallen off my chair. In appearance, Genesis is the perfect JRPG final boss. He's monstrously large, has a giant Bible sword, and he uses big wipe magic. Something about mechanically only being able to do damage by attacking his sword for the entirety of the battle bothers me, but amongst my grievances with this game, that sentiment is trivial. He's eventually dispatched. Or so you thought. The Lifestream's power seems to have cured his degradation. It's time to have one last fight with Genesis proper. This fight is actually easier than his first form, and he doesn't have dummy HP, and there's no invincibility phase to this fight. All his attacks could be timed out and dodged, assuming you take note of the ability displaying in text before he uses it. I think the devs knew that the prior form was the real time investment, and they didn't want you to fail here and have to redo the first fight. Perhaps they do have some mercy. Genesis makes his way to the Goddess of Legend before being sent back to the Lifestream. I really think this would lack context without the prior knowledge from Final Fantasy VII, as the Lifestream was not elaborated upon in this title, but then again, who would play this PSP prequel without having played the original title? Back in Benora, Zack carries Genesis up to Lizard and Cloud. I was confused after seeing him disappear in the Lifestream. Lizard is in bad shape. Shinra attacked, and he was aided in Cloud's defense by the remnants of Angeal. Zack thanks Angeal and his copy Lizard for their service. He takes a bite of a glorious dumb apple, and Genesis calls it the gift of the goddess. Or at least, Zack interprets it that way. Genesis mutters that Angeal's dream came true, just as Lizard and Angeal, in his current monster state, return to the Lifestream. In his wake, Zack finds a letter from Aerith. She explains that it has now been 4 years since they've seen each other. She's written 89 letters and does not know what's happened to him. Her flowers are selling well, and she says it's all thanks to him. I'll get to my confusion over 4 years in a couple minutes. We now cut to the Turks, who drop down in a helicopter. They take the body of Genesis into their custody. In his wake, he leaves behind the final act of Loveless. Sung and Cisne are still hunting Cloud and Zack. They want to find them before the army does. Cisne, of course, will oblige, as she still hasn't told Zack her real name. Sung has 88 letters from Aerith for Zack as well. Reno and Rude fly around looking for the duo with Zack's package of love. Zack has taken Cloud to the outskirts of Midgar. Unfortunately, the Turks didn't find him first.
Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep. Embrace your dreams. And whatever happens, protect your honor. As soldier! Come and get it!
Zack is completely surrounded, and he fights admirably, but he cannot stand against this many foes. For the first time in the game, the DMW does not raise my hackles here. It slowly deteriorates as he flashes back to the moments with his loved ones. The reel keeps spinning and landing on his friends as he thinks only of them as he takes on this incredible force. Zack has incredible willpower and refuses to go down. As he takes on a small group of enemies that would be trivial only moments ago, the DMW seems to be stuck on the memory of Aerith.
Modulating phase.
Hello? Don't worry, that's right. Want to hear? But work stuff? Not scary at all. Will I see you again? I'll be here.
I was almost tricked into defending the DMW because of how effective this scene was for me. Aerith is now a bit older, and she looks more like the girl we know from Final Fantasy VII. As it begins to rain on her, she senses something. Cloud is coming to a bit. He crawls to make his way to his defender.
Zack. For the both of us. Both of us?
Zack tells Cloud he has to live for the both of them. He calls Cloud his living legacy. He passes on the Buster Sword to Cloud, the representation of his honor and his dreams. Cloud is still Mako sick and cannot process this. The sky clears and the rain ceases as Cloud recalls Zack's message to him. He tells Zack that he won't forget before taking his leave. He has to drag the Buster Sword behind him. The giant blade is still a lot for young Cloud, who is not, in fact, a soldier first class. Zack reaches for the heavens to reunite with his friend Angeal. He finally got the same wings. Zack asks, "Would you say that I became a hero?" Final Fantasy VII had a post-credits sequence. Nowadays, that's something that's almost expected in a post-Marvel world. When it released, it was far less common. This game, too, has a post-credits sequence. Or maybe more accurately, it's another game's intro sequence. Aerith walks the streets of Sector 8. The camera pans out on the city of Midgar. It zooms back, revealing Cloud storming in on top of a train. To be continued in Final Fantasy VII. Okay, I take it all back. This game is a nostalgia trip out of 10. Fantastic. Perfect. Okay, not really. But I could definitely tell they were attacking me personally with waves of nostalgia at the end there. Before we got part 1 of the remake, this was the closest glimpse of Final Fantasy VII in a more modern era that we could see. Let's talk about the entirety of that ending, though. My first impression was that Genesis was being sent back to the Lifestream by the goddess. In the end, I think he was simply being cured of his degradation. I referenced Loveless tons of times since Genesis goes on and on with his prose. I was mostly dismissive as I recapped it. I think I like the thought more than the execution of the Loveless play integration. The game gives you quotes from the play in pieces, and I'm not entirely sure they're in order. As I see it, the Loveless play is analogous to the situation occurring in the game. It's meant to be reflecting on the 3 men of the experiments. Genesis believes himself to be the main protagonist of the play. I believe the goddess does gift him a cure to his degradation, but I think Zack is the protagonist of the story. Oh, obviously. When he stands up to Genesis in the final fight, he carries the cells of Sephiroth and the sword of Angeal that carries his true legacy. The original trio are reunited. When he tells Zack in the end that Angeal's dream came true, I interpreted this as Zack successfully restoring Angeal's honor, and that may even be true of Genesis. Genesis mentions an ultimate sacrifice, and I think he intends that to mean his own. But only moments later, Zack makes the best case for a real sacrifice, and Zack's sacrifice saves Cloud, which eventually saves the whole damn world. Seems like the story would have been more likely about him. Okay, so they were pulling the heartstrings with that letter from Aerith. It's been 4 years. Okay. Why? How? I don't understand, but I'm willing to rationalize that the Lifestream warps space-time. What I'm less forgiving about is the fact that Shinra and the Turks seem to be immediately right on their asses right when they appear. These men have been missing for 4 years. Shinra never gave up? Why didn't they investigate deeper below Benor at this point if they knew they were there? What is going on here? How does this make sense? I get how this adds drama to Aerith and Zack's relationship, but I don't appreciate the kinks it adds to the common sense of the story. I think the whole bit with Shinra carrying off Genesis has something to do with Dirge of Cerberus, but I never played that, so I have nothing of interest to add to that. The ending segment with Zack taking on the Shinra forces was executed fantastically. I don't truly know what the sentiment around this game is today. I know it sold very well, so I'm assuming there are plenty of people nostalgic about it. My suspicions are that any positive sentiment surrounding this game would be tied to the ending, as it was executed far better than most of the rest of the game in my opinion. The DMW breaking down as Zack reflects on his past relationships was highly effective. There was a moment of trickery where I almost forgave the system for its gameplay woes, just for that one segment. I had to watch the footage back, and my feelings on the rest of the game came flooding back, and I took back those thoughts almost instantly. The scene with Zack passing on the infamous Buster Sword to Cloud was effective on multiple levels. Firstly, Zack is a truly likable protagonist, and it was impactful to see a character with such a positive outlook, who's always dreamed of being a hero, bleeding out on the ground. He wanted to be a hero, and he finally got to do something that he deemed himself as being heroic. The Buster Sword has become iconic. I'm sure there was a contingent of fans that were immensely satisfied to give it a place of honor in the story. Having Cloud walk off with the sword at his heels was a strong visual, demonstrating that this is not the Cloud we've come to know. He was not a soldier first class. He was just a grunt who was experimented on, and at this point, he couldn't carry Zack's jock. With Zack's parting words of Cloud being his living legacy, I felt it was highly effective, and we all know that he faced off with Sephiroth and won eventually. He succeeded at his task of surviving, and he definitely adequately carried on Zack's legacy. What I don't quite understand is how this affects the storyline of the original title. Well, I mean, obviously, it doesn't affect the storyline of the original, but you get it, the changes. This ending makes it seem like he'll remember Zack forever, when in truth he arrives in Midgar still Mako sick and confused. His own origins are a mystery to him. It takes away some of the impact of this moment when you know he doesn't even remember the origins of his infamous sword or his friend who saved his life. Zack doesn't just save his life, he carried Cloud's shell-shocked body all over the place to ensure his safety before he made the ultimate sacrifice. Maybe that's just me looking into it with more scrutiny than intended, but that's how I perceived it. I should clarify though, as much shit as I gave this game, I enjoyed this ending, and it felt like a satisfying conclusion of the story. Much of it was written in a more freeform, thought bubble type method. I normally try to have some sort of plan of attack and more meticulous notes. Clearly that didn't happen here, so this is my acknowledgement before I move on to the airing of grievances portion of Festivus. In regards to the story, there are a couple of things I did not care for. I'm not one of those people who's usually horribly bothered by incongruousness in media, but some of the details of the story seem to retcon the original story or just straight up alter it in a way that I found unappealing. I will get to Genesis in a moment, but there was no need for him to be at Nibelheim Reactor, as this scene was pivotal in the original Final Fantasy VII story. The addition of Genesis telling Sephiroth about his origins adds nothing for me. It only makes the story incongruous with the original game. I think it's fairly safe to say that most fans of the original game would have been happy to experience the moments of Nibelheim in mostly the same way in a 3D rendered world with, at least at the time, state-of-the-art graphics. I'm sure Genesis as a divisive character as a whole. Zack needed a big bad to go up against. They chose to go with Hot Topic Sephiroth. Okay, alright, I can be honest. Even more Hot Topic Sephiroth. His pontificating about Loveless and the lost act of the play can become grating. I was really struggling verbalizing my problems with Genesis. Obviously Square wanted the play to be an integral part of the story. For those of you who didn't immediately recognize the title Loveless, there was a Loveless poster hanging in Sector 8 where you find Aerith in the first game. The problem is that Genesis enters a scene, spews some lines with no context about Loveless, and usually those lines sound like much ado about nothing. It sounds like flowery language with no real intent behind them. Genesis and Angeal both have a similar backstory to Sephiroth, so intuitively poking holes in their backstories seems like poking holes in Sephiroth's origin story. The truth is, though, by adding two new characters with such a similar story to our main villain in Final Fantasy VII, takes a bit of the luster off his story. I wonder if the Loveless subplot was dropped if I would still have the same visceral reaction to Genesis. The devs clearly thought of Angeal and Genesis as the yin and yang pulling Zack. I didn't hate Genesis, but he clearly was not a Final Fantasy cast favorite for me. Angeal. My first complaint about Angeal is that he was removed from his mentor role very early in the story. You really only get one full mission of Zack and Angeal fighting alongside one another. Surely you can tell that Zack reveres his mentor figure, but you don't have enough time to truly get attached to him. And if you're like me, likely you will detach as soon as he becomes just another one of many characters that Zack is constantly on the hunt for. Angeal keeps going on about his fucking honor. My god! The thing about honor, it means different things to different people. To me, he was hardly ever truly honorable. This is the thing about morals and ethics. They're not absolute. What is moral depends on the interpretation of the individual. You may side with Angeal and say, hey, Shinra fucked your boy. He was nothing but a genetics experiment to them, and now he's degrading. Okay, fine. You want to give him a pass? That's on you. Well, how about his true friend Zack? He leaves Zack in the cold while he joins his friend Genesis, who is clearly self-interested. How the fuck is that honorable? It just rings hollow to me to have this guy harping on about dreams and honor, whilst he abandons his fellow soldiers to gallivant with the clearly evident villain. I do not for the life of me understand the motivations of Lazard. Apparently he found out that the 3 soldier first class boys were all some kind of genetic experiment and swore revenge on Shinra. I guess I can follow with that, with the exception that all 3 of them seem to have different motivations, and Hollander is clearly a scumbag. Why would he do the things he does? It baffles me. And how he eventually became an Angeal clone confuses me even more. I don't think they did a good job demonstrating the motivations of many of the characters in this game. There are emails you can read and conversations you can have, but many of them are bereft of any real details to sink your teeth into. To tie a bow on my initial thoughts of the gameplay in the beginning, I did not like many of the gameplay systems from this game. The DMW takes your progression away from your direct control, and I was not a fan of that. The targeting was finicky at times, and that was a bit of a sandpaper on my ass. In general, I feel the blend of action and turn-based combat leads to uninspired blends of both, and I think that's true in this game. These complaints get worse and worse when you have to do so damn much of this combat. The fact that you have to fight so many consecutive fights in a row makes a small tumor of distaste grow into something that you can no longer ignore. I did 20% of the submissions in this game. Do you know how many there are? I looked it up. 300. That means I did 60 fucking missions and I was barely at 20%. That's lunacy. I'm sorry. The content is just not good enough to justify that. Give me more side shit where I catch the innkeeper stashing money from his wife. Before I leave this game alone and stop beating this poor dead horse, it has to be said that the gameplay loop is just tedious. You start off in Shinra HQ. You get a mission to chase someone down. You find them, they give you some sort of speech, you fight a boss, then they escape. Back to Shinra HQ. You've seemingly accomplished nothing. The next mission, you might be chasing someone else down, but the mission structure will be identical, and I felt like I was running in place as a player. On top of that, you have such a small variety of foes. Most of the enemy diversity is locked up in the side missions, and you don't want my full thoughts on those fucking things. I wish I had a running counter for the number of Genesis clones and Shinra troops I fought, because the numbers have got to be absurd. I literally did a mission where I had to defeat 100 Shinra troops. Know what the next level mission was? 200 of them. I feel like a crazy person. Are people okay with this? Is this entertaining to someone? It felt mindless. Clearly, this end of the gameplay loop didn't capture me, and I'm sorry if you're someone who found enjoyment or even mastery in these systems, but I couldn't find the willpower to seek out anything further than competency. If I'm being honest, I skipped through the tutorial showing that the shops are just in the menu for Zack. I was accumulating gil like crazy, and I kept waiting for the moment when my ability to spend it unlocked. And it was damn near the end of the game when I figured out how to even buy a remedy. I spent almost no money in this playthrough. Even when I could finally access the shops because I figured it out, there was nothing of consequence in them. I was never inspired by any of the accessories or gear in this game. Maybe if I would have found a ribbon, maybe I might be a little bit softer on this part. I think this should clearly state that I did not do what I normally strive to do, to give the game my best shot and engage fully in the story and systems on their level. I just wasn't inspired enough to do so. Normally when I think of a remake, I'm always hoping for a shiny new graphics with mostly untouched systems and story. I want what I had before that I liked, but just prettier now. I have high hopes that the remake will make some serious changes to the DMW system. Maybe they can elaborate more on the love list so Genesis doesn't sound like such a pompous asshole all the time. I still plan on playing it, but I'd be lying if I said I was just as excited as I was before this playthrough. Can I just say I didn't care for this soundtrack? I was blown away to see the amount of tracks on the official soundtrack because it felt like I was listening to 5 or 6 tracks the whole game. The best music was the remix versions of the original tracks to me, and it's possible that my distaste for the music contributed to my feeling of off-brand Final Fantasy VII to me. I don't think I will be featuring it much in this video as I just don't have that much love for it. Editor Shane here. I'd like to make an addendum at the end here. I've decided to throw these tracks in the video to showcase them after all. I think I understand why it feels like I was hearing the same tracks over and over. Well, the first reason is that I was. The Shinra HQ segments always play the same elevator music. The submissions always had the same tracks over and over, and the battle music, that was just not to my taste. And there's a lot of battles to have music for. The other problem is that even the tracks that are played less often sound very similar to the ones that are more commonly played. Coming off of Final Fantasy VII, which is such a diverse soundtrack, it feels like a big step back for me. There's a couple tracks with strings and piano, and I felt were more emotionally stirring for me. Another problem is some of the songs are used in moments that don't seem like they were in keeping with the story. There's some really cool metal-ass boss tracks that normally I think would have resonated with me more, but when they get put on top of an emotional story moment, it threw me for a loop. Overall, the soundtrack isn't bad, but I don't think they used what they had to its fullest potential. I've spent most of this non-recap segment complaining like a little bitch, but believe it or not, I did like plenty of this game. Zack's such a fun protagonist and a complete polar opposite to the character of Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. Cloud's been accused of being emo for years now. He has a bit of a tragedy to him, and I'm willing to be understanding of why he is the way he is. Zack is fun from Jump Street. He's Cloud if he got more hugs from Tifa in his youth. He's ambitious and he's succeeded in many of his goals, also unlike Cloud, I might add. Getting to see Zack interact with Aerith was very enjoyable to me. Many of the game's attempts to harvest easy nostalgia crystals were very successful to me. The Zack and Aerith segments gave me what I wanted in a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. I want backstory that I hadn't experienced. More backstory for beloved characters. I just wanted more of what I liked from the original, and a lot of that was based on character interactions. I may have been less willing to meet the game on its terms with the new characters because I was being a spicy bitch about the gameplay systems, but I got to see a side of Sephiroth when he was still one of the guys. It's strange to see him be so calm and reasonable, but I enjoyed the experience. The ending may have some portions that left me questioning what happened, but it was still definitely memorable. I love the innocence of Aerith. Her personality is playful and fun in spite of some serious difficulties that she's faced in her life. She was great for Zack, and having him be the impetus for her to begin selling flowers was a brilliant touch. These moments were when the game was most effective for me on a personal level. I did not hate this game, but it would be disingenuous to pretend like I loved it either. I'm sorry if I offended anyone that has a deep love for this game, as I'm not trying to discredit your feelings. I'm only trying to express my own. Plus, who gives a shit about what I think anyways? I'm just some slapdick with 250 subs or something. Thank you to anyone who sat through all that. I promise my next video will return in my more upbeat ways. I like video games, and I really only want to talk about the ones that I truly enjoy. This was a special exception because I really wanted to play it, and its predecessor was so important to me. I feel like it's a missed opportunity. I'm playing Dark Souls 3, and I might do a slightly different format for that one. I don't feel confident that I could do a good job breaking down the story for sure, but I think I could make an entertaining highlight of my journey through its world. Also, this is a new mic you may or may not have noticed since I tuned it very similar to my old one. I'm starting to think I had that little cheap USB mic tuned up fairly nice, as the main benefit I'm noticing from this one is it reduces a lot of my old man noises, especially after I get done reading pages of text. You'd be amazed how dry your mouth will get after reading aloud for an hour. I appreciate all the people who've subbed and everyone who's watched the video, or any videos. Good day, good night, just be good.